He grabbed my wrist at the gallery entrance and hissed, "Don't touch anything expensive. And for God's sake, don't embarrass me in front of these people." I pulled my arm free and walked through the door. When the gallery owner rushed over, kissed both my cheeks and said, "Isla, everyone's been dying to meet you." My brother's face drained of color so fast I thought he might faint. If you're already hooked by this opener, smash that like button right now. Trust me, this story gets even better. For 6 weeks, my brother Damien had been coaching me on how not to humiliate him. "Wear something black," he'd said, like I didn't understand what gallery openings required. "Let me do the talking. These are serious collectors, not your art school friends. Just stand there and smile," he reminded me the night before, like I was a child being prepped for a recital. I listened to every dismissive instruction, nodded through every patronizing suggestion. Let him believe I needed his protection from a world that was supposedly beyond my reach. The whole time, I was the artist whose work was being exhibited. The entire show, 12 paintings valued at over $800,000, was mine. The opening he'd been obsessing over for weeks. It was my debut at the Meridian Gallery, one of the most prestigious contemporary art spaces in the country. The collector he desperately wanted to impress, Veronica Chun, had already purchased 3 of my pieces and commissioned 2 more. But Damien never asked about my work. Never bothered to look at the exhibition details he'd been forwarded. Never connected the dots. So when we walked into that gallery, and everything he thought he knew about his little sister collapsed in seconds, I can't say I felt bad about it. My name is Isla Reeves. I'm 28 years old. And this is the story of how I let my brother underestimate me, and how it cost him everything. I'm a contemporary visual artist. That sounds vague to most people, so let me be specific. I paint large-scale abstract works that explore memory and trauma through color theory and gestural markmaking. My pieces sell for $45,000 to $120,000 each. Last year, my work was featured in Art Forum and Modern Painters. I have gallery representation in New York, Los Angeles, and London. 3 of my paintings are in permanent museum collections. 2 months ago, I was awarded the Klein Grant for Emerging Artists, a $50,000 prize that only goes to 1 artist nationwide each year. But if you'd seen me on a random Tuesday, you'd never know any of that. I work in a converted warehouse studio I share with 4 other artists. I wear paint-stained overalls and keep my hair in a perpetual knot. My hands are permanently stained with cadmium red and ultramarine blue. I drive a beat-up 2012 Subaru with canvases strapped to the roof rack. To most people, and definitely to my brother, I look like someone still trying to make it as an artist. Someone who hasn't figured out that art isn't a real career. Someone who should have gotten a proper job years ago. Damien and I grew up in the same house, but we might as well have been raised in different families. He was the golden child. Straight A's, business degree, corporate job at 22. By 26, he was a senior analyst at Blackstone Consulting, pulling in $180,000 a year, living in a downtown condo, wearing tailored suits that cost more than my monthly rent. I was the disappointment, the one who chose art school over business school, who moved into a warehouse instead of a luxury apartment, who made weird paintings instead of contributing to society in meaningful ways. At least, that's how Damien saw it. Our parents tried to be supportive of my choices, but I could see the worry in their eyes. The unasked questions. When will you get a real job? How long can you survive on this? They helped Damien with a down payment on his condo. They gave me grocery money and worried I wasn't eating enough. The dynamic became clear early. Damien was the success story. I was the cautionary tale. He loved reminding me of that. "Still painting?" he'd ask at family dinners, his tone suggesting I was still playing with crayons. "How's the warehouse?" he'd inquire, implying I was 1 step away from homelessness. "Met any real collectors yet?" he'd say, meaning, "Are you still pretending this is a career?" I stopped trying to explain what I actually did. Stopped mentioning exhibitions or sales or grants. It didn't matter. In Damien's mind, I was a struggling younger sister who needed guidance, protection, and occasional financial intervention. 6 months ago, things escalated. Damien got promoted to Director of Strategic Operations. Big title, bigger salary, invitation to join the right social circles in the city. Suddenly, he was networking with wealth management executives and private equity investors, going to charity galas and exclusive dinners, dating women who worked in luxury real estate or corporate law. He was obsessed with image, with being seen as successful, sophisticated, connected. And I, his weird artist sister, had become a potential liability. "You should come to things more often," he said one Sunday at Mom's house. "My crowd would be good for you. Potential collectors." "I'm fine, thanks." "I'm serious, Isla. You can't just hide in your warehouse forever. Eventually, you'll need real connections. Real connections. Like the ones I'd spent 8 years building in the actual art world meant nothing. But I didn't argue. Just nodded and changed the subject. Then came the invitation that would detonate everything. 8 weeks ago, Damien called me. Unusual, since we mostly communicated through family group texts. "I need a favor," he said without preamble. "Okay. There's a gallery opening next month. The Meridian. Really exclusive, invitation only. I got invited through a client connection." My stomach dropped. I knew exactly which opening he was talking about. And I kept my voice neutral. "I want you to come with me as my guest. It'll be good exposure for you. Serious collectors, museum people, the kind of crowd you need to meet if you're ever going to make this art thing work." I closed my eyes. Took a breath. "Who invited you?" "Julian Torres. He's a client. His wife sits on some museum board. They got me on the list." Julian Torres. I'd met him twice. He'd purchased one of my paintings last year through the gallery. "I don't know, Damien. Gallery openings can be. Look, I'm trying to help you. This is a huge opportunity. The Meridian doesn't just show anyone. If you're serious about your career, you need to take advantage of connections when they're offered." The condescension dripped through the phone. "When is it?" 6 weeks from Thursday. "I'll pick you up. And Isla." He paused. "Wear something appropriate. Not your warehouse clothes. Something that says you're a professional, not a starving artist." I should have told him right then. Should have said, "Damien, that's my exhibition. I'm the featured artist." But something stopped me. Maybe curiosity about how far he'd take this. Maybe exhaustion from years of being dismissed. Maybe the dark satisfaction of knowing what was coming. "Okay," I said quietly. "I'll be ready." The next 6 weeks were a masterclass in humiliation. Damien took it upon himself to prepare me for an event he thought I wasn't sophisticated enough to handle on my own. Week 1. "I got you an appointment at a boutique downtown. They carry elevated basics. Nothing too artistic or weird. Just clean, professional pieces. I have clothes, Damien. I'm sure you do, but this crowd notices details. Trust me on this." Week 2. The Meridian attracts serious money. CEOs, hedge fund managers, old money collectors. Don't talk about prices or trying to sell anything. It comes across desperate. I understand how galleries work. Do you though? Because warehouse shows and actual galleries are very different environments. Week 3. If someone asks what you do, keep it simple. Say you're an artist, but don't get into details unless they ask. Let the work speak for itself. The irony was so thick I could have painted with it. Week 4. I've been researching the artist whose work is being shown. Someone named Isla Reeves. Ever heard of her? My heart stopped. Maybe. The name sounds familiar. Her stuff is apparently pretty good. Abstract, lots of color. The gallery's betting big on her. This could be a career-making show. He was reading from the exhibition announcement. My exhibition announcement. And he still hadn't connected that Isla Reeves was his sister Isla. "She's about your age," he continued. 28. Makes you think, right? Some people figure out how to make art a real career. How to get into legitimate galleries instead of warehouse spaces. I made a non-committal sound. "Anyway, point is, this is a big deal. I need you to not embarrass me. These people are way above both our levels, honestly. But I'm trying to establish myself in these circles, and having family there helps with the image. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. These people are way above both our levels. My work was hanging on those walls. My name was on the exhibition materials. Collectors had flown in from New York and London specifically to see my paintings. And my brother thought he was doing me a favor by letting me attend." Week 5 brought the worst conversation yet. Damien came to my warehouse studio unannounced. First time he'd ever visited in the 8 years I'd been working there. He looked around at the space, the 20-foot ceilings, The north-facing windows, the works in progress covering the walls, with barely concealed distaste. This is where you work. This is my studio. It's very. He searched for a diplomatic word. Industrial. I didn't respond. Just watched him take in the space he'd never bothered to see before. His eyes landed on a large canvas I was finishing. 9 feet tall, explosive reds and oranges with delicate gold leaf details. One of my strongest pieces. Is this what you're working on now? Yes. He studied it for a long moment. I waited for some reaction. Recognition, maybe, of the skill involved. The years of practice. The intentionality of every mark. It's interesting, he said finally. Very colorful. Do you ever worry it's too abstract? Like, people won't understand what it means. That's kind of the point of abstraction. Right, but collectors want something they can explain to guests. Something with clear meaning. Maybe you should consider doing more representational work. Landscapes or portraits. Things people actually want to hang in their homes. I bit back the response that 3 of my too abstract paintings were already hanging in collectors' homes. That museums were acquiring my work. That the Klein Grant Committee had chosen my abstraction over 3,000 other applicants. I'll keep that in mind, I said. He walked around the studio, pausing at a stack of gallery invitations and exhibition announcements on my work table. My heart rate spiked. The Meridian announcement was right there. My face on the cover, my name in bold letters. But Damien just glanced at the pile without really seeing it, already pulling out his phone to check messages. Listen, about the opening, he said, still scrolling. I need you to understand something. This is important for my career. Julian Torres is a major client. His wife, Veronica, is extremely well connected in the art world. If I can make the right impression, it could open serious doors for me. Okay. So please just follow my lead. Smile, be pleasant, but let me handle conversations. Don't try to network or pitch your work. These people can smell desperation, and it turns them off. Got it. I'm serious, Isla. Don't embarrass me. These people are way above your level. Way above mine too, honestly. But I'm trying to get us both there. Us. Like my career was somehow attached to his. Like I was a project he was managing instead of a person with my own achievements. I understand, I said quietly. And I did. I understood exactly who my brother was and what he thought of me. The evening before the opening, Damien called for a final briefing. Okay, game plan, he said. I could hear him pacing, that nervous energy he got before important events. We'll arrive at 7 o'clock sharp. Not too early, not too late. We'll start with the main gallery, look at the work, make appreciative comments. Sounds good. If you see something you like, don't gush about it. These collectors hate when people get overly emotional about art. Just say something like interesting use of color or strong composition. Keep it sophisticated. Damien, I know how to talk about art. I know you do in your warehouse. But this is different. This is the Meridian. The people there expect a certain level of discourse. I close my eyes. Counted to 10. When we meet people, let me introduce us. I'll say I'm Damien Reeves and you're my sister Isla. Then I'll pivot to how we're both interested in contemporary art and that I'm particularly interested in the investment potential of emerging artists. Investment potential? That's what these people care about. Art is asset class. They want to know their purchases will appreciate. It's about portfolio diversification, not just aesthetics. He really thought he was teaching me something. Now, Julian and Veronica will be there. They're the priority. If I can get 15 minutes of solid conversation with them, ideally about potential consulting opportunities, that would be ideal. So if we get separated, don't panic. Just look at the art and wait for me. I think I can handle being alone at a gallery. I'm just trying to help you succeed, Isla. This is a huge opportunity for both of us. Don't waste it by being defensive. After he hung up, I sat in my studio surrounded by paintings I'd spent 8 years learning to create. Work that had taken me from community college art classes to one of the most prestigious galleries in the country. Work my brother had never actually seen, had never asked about, had never valued enough to learn anything about. Tomorrow night, that would change. Tomorrow night, every assumption he'd made about me would shatter. And I was going to let it happen. Thursday arrived with perfect weather. Crisp autumn evening, golden light, The kind of night that makes cities feel like they're posing for photographs. I spent the day at the gallery helping with final preparations, adjusting lighting, checking labels, reviewing the price list with my dealer, Adrian. "Your brother's coming tonight?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. She'd heard me mention him once or twice, always with obvious frustration. "He is. And he doesn't know this is your show? He has no idea." Adrian's smile was wicked. "This is going to be delicious." The exhibition looked stunning. 12 paintings spanning the gallery's main space and 3 smaller rooms. My largest works commanded the central walls, drawing viewers in with their explosive color and intricate layering. Next to each painting, discreet labels: Isla Reeves, title, 2024, oil and gold leaf on canvas. My name, over and over. Impossible to miss, unless you weren't really looking. I went home at 4 o'clock to get ready. Showered, did my makeup carefully, styled my hair in a way that looked effortless but wasn't. The dress I'd chosen was black, Damien would approve, but it was a designer piece I'd bought after selling my first $75,000 painting. Elegant, sophisticated, exactly right for the occasion. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone who belonged in that gallery. Someone who'd earned her place there through years of dedicated work and refusal to quit even when everyone suggested she should. "Damien texted at 6:30, picking you up in 15 minutes. Remember everything we talked about?" I texted back, ready. He arrived exactly on time, driving his Tesla, wearing a suit that probably cost $3,000. His hair was perfectly styled. His shoes gleamed. He looked me over when I got in the car, nodded approvingly. "Good. You look professional. Not too artistic." "Thanks. Ready for this?" "Absolutely." We drove through the city toward the gallery district. Damien talked the entire way, reviewing his strategy, reminding me to let him lead conversations, warning me not to monopolize anyone's time. "The artist is supposed to be there tonight," he said as we got closer. "Isla Reeves. That'll be interesting. I've never met a real gallery artist before." "Should be interesting," I agreed. We pulled up to the Meridian. The exterior was lit beautifully, large windows revealing glimpses of my paintings inside. A small crowd had already gathered near the entrance. Damien parked, turned off the engine, took a deep breath. Then he turned to me with that expression I'd come to know so well over the past 6 weeks. Serious, paternal, vaguely condescending. "Okay, last thing. I need you to really hear this. Don't touch anything expensive. Don't embarrass me. These people are way above our level, and I'm barely getting my foot in the door. Just smile, be pleasant, and let me handle everything." "Can you do that?" I looked at my brother. Really looked at him. Saw a man who'd spent 6 weeks preparing for an evening he thought would define him. A man who'd coached and managed and instructed his sister because he genuinely believed she wasn't capable of navigating this world on her own. A man who had absolutely no idea who his sister actually was. "I can do that," I said quietly. We got out of the car and walked toward the entrance. Toward the gallery, where my name covered the walls. Toward the opening that was supposed to launch my career. Toward the moment when everything Damien believed about me would crumble. I didn't warn him. Didn't prepare him. Didn't say a single word. I just walked through the door and waited for reality to arrive. The gallery was already full. Collectors in expensive clothes. Curators I recognized from major museums. Critics whose reviews could make or break careers. The air hummed with the particular energy of an important opening. Damien's posture shifted immediately into performance mode. Shoulders back, calculated smile, eyes scanning for important people. My paintings surrounded us. Huge canvases alive with color and movement. My name on every label. My work filling every wall. He didn't notice. Too busy looking for faces, calculating his approach. Then Adrian spotted me from across the main gallery. "Isla!" Her voice carried over the crowd. "You're here. Everyone's been asking when you'd arrive." She rushed over, arms extended, pulled me into a hug. "The collector from Munich wants to talk about commissioning a diptych. And the woman from MoMA asked if you'd consider doing a site-specific installation for their contemporary wing next year." Damien's face went confused. His brain, visibly trying to process why the gallery owner was greeting me like this. "Adrian, this is my brother Damien." Adrian's eyes sparkled with recognition, and barely suppressed amusement. Of course. Isla mentioned you were coming. Welcome to your sister's debut exhibition. The words landed like a physical blow. Damien's expression cycled through shock, disbelief, horror. His mouth opened. No sound came out. Your sister's, he finally managed. She's been too modest, I'm sure, Adrian continued, her tone innocent but her eyes wicked. This is Isla Reeves, the artist. The entire show is hers. I watched him look around the gallery as if seeing it for the first time. Saw his eyes land on the nearest label, Isla Reeves, then on the exhibition announcement displayed by the entrance. My face, my name, in letters 3 inches tall. Then on the painting directly behind me, one of my largest pieces, priced at $95,000, with a red dot already indicating it had sold. Your. He couldn't form the sentence. This is your work. Yes. All of it. All of it. His face had gone completely white. He looked like someone had physically struck him. Julian Torres appeared then, the client who'd gotten Damien the invitation. Isla. Phenomenal show. Veronica is already fighting with 3 other collectors over the piece in the back room. He clapped Damien on the shoulder, finally acknowledging him. I see you found our star artist. Damien, you must be incredibly proud. Your sister is the most exciting emerging talent we've seen in years. Damien made a sound that might have been words if his vocal cords were functioning. She's too humble to brag, Julian continued. But she won the Klein grant this year. $50,000 prize. Only one artist in the entire country gets it. Veronica and I have been collecting Isla's work for over a year now. We have 3 pieces, probably about to make it 4. I watched Damien try to process this information, try to reconcile the struggling artist's sister he thought he knew with the reality standing in front of him. The Klein grant, he repeated weakly. You won the Klein grant. 4 months ago. And you didn't tell me? I mentioned it at Mom's birthday dinner. You were checking your phone. The memory flickered across his face. Recognition, then devastating realization. Damien, Adrian said smoothly, you'll have to excuse us. Isla has some collectors she needs to speak with. But enjoy the show. Your sister's work really is extraordinary. She guided me away into the crowd, leaving Damien standing alone in the center of the gallery, surrounded by my paintings, my name, my success. Everything he thought he knew about me rewritten in the space of 3 minutes. If you're invested in this story, hit subscribe right now. The next 2 hours were surreal in the best possible way. I moved through the gallery talking with collectors, curators, critics, people who understood my work, who asked intelligent questions about process and concept, who treated me like the professional I'd spent 8 years becoming. Veronica Chun, Julian's wife, bought 2 paintings and commissioned a third. A collector from London purchased the largest piece in the show. The curator from MoMA confirmed they wanted to discuss a solo exhibition for next year. Every conversation was substantive, respectful. This was my world, had been for years. And across the gallery, I'd occasionally spot Damien, hovering near conversations he couldn't enter, trying to approach groups who'd smile politely, then turn back to their discussions. Standing alone with a glass of wine, looking lost. Without me as his entry point, without the Julian Torres connection meaning what he thought it would, he was just another guy in an expensive suit at an art opening. Invisible. Around 9 o'clock, I was discussing potential museum acquisitions with a curator when Damien finally approached. Isla, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm in the middle of a conversation. It'll just take a second. The curator glanced between us, sensing tension. We can continue this later, she said diplomatically, stepping away. Damien pulled me toward a quieter corner. His face was flushed, anger mixing with humiliation. You deliberately didn't tell me. You never asked. That's not. He stopped, tried again. You let me give you advice about art galleries, about how to talk to collectors. You let me coach you on what to wear and how to behave, and the entire time this was your show. Yes. Why would you do that? Why would you humiliate me like this? I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. I humiliated you? Damien, you spent 6 weeks treating me like I'm too unsophisticated to handle a gallery opening, telling me not to embarrass you, warning me these people are above my level. Because I didn't know. You didn't know because you never bothered to ask. You never cared about my work enough to learn anything about it. His mouth opened and closed. No words came out. I told you about this exhibition when I signed the contract 9 months ago, I continued. I told you about the Klein grant. I've mentioned gallery shows and museum acquisitions and critical reviews. You weren't listening because you decided my career wasn't real. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you asked about my work, Damien? Actually asked, not just made a condescending comment about whether I was still painting. He had no answer. I invited you to my last 3 openings. You never came. Said you were too busy. But you had time to come to this one because you thought it would help your career. I was trying to help you network. No. You were trying to use me as a prop while networking for yourself. The difference is pretty clear. People were starting to glance in our direction. Damien noticed, his face going redder. We can't do this here, he hissed. You're right. This is my exhibition opening. And I have collectors to talk to. I started to walk away. Isla. I turned back. Go home, Damien. And maybe think about why you assumed your struggling artist sister couldn't possibly be successful enough to have her own gallery debut. I didn't hear from Damien for 3 days. Then my phone rang at 11 p.m. on Sunday. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. You made me look like a fucking idiot. His voice was thick, slightly slurred. He'd been drinking. I didn't make you do anything. Everyone at that opening thinks I'm a joke. Julian Torres has been avoiding my emails. People are talking about it. About how I had no idea my own sister was the artist. Maybe you should have paid more attention to your sister. Don't turn this around on me. You deliberately set me up. I didn't set you up. I just didn't stop you from setting yourself up. Silence. I could hear him breathing, trying to control whatever was threatening to explode out of him. I'm your brother, he said finally, quieter now. You should have told me. You're right. I should have. But you made it very clear over the past 6 weeks that you think I'm a failure who needs your guidance. And honestly, Damien, I wanted you to see who I actually am, not who you decided I was. So this was about punishing me? No. It was about protecting myself. From spending one more evening pretending to be less than I am, so you could feel superior. He went silent again. Then, I'm your brother. I'm supposed to look out for you. Looking out for me means respecting me, not managing me like a PR problem. That's not what I was doing. Then what were you doing? No answer. Because he knew. He'd known all along what he was doing, even if he'd wrapped it in the language of help and concern. I'm tired, Damien. I'm going to go. Isla. I ended the call. The fallout continued for weeks. Damien stopped coming to family dinners. When Mom asked why, he said he was busy with work. But my dad pulled me aside one Sunday and said quietly, Your brother's embarrassed. Give him time. I didn't do anything wrong, Dad. I know, but pride is a strange thing. Especially for men like Damien, who base their self-worth on being the successful one. The story spread through social circles we both moved in. I heard different versions of it. The artist's clueless brother, the guy who coached his sister on how to attend her own gallery opening, the consultant who didn't know his sister had a major exhibition. Some people found it funny. Others found it sad. Most found it a cautionary tale about assumptions and ego. Meanwhile, my career accelerated in ways I hadn't anticipated. The Meridian show sold out completely. 6 more paintings sold in the first month, 3 above asking price. Museum acquisition offers came from institutions in Chicago, Miami, and San Francisco. The publicity around the opening, including the delicious irony of my brother's obliviousness, generated articles in Art News and Art Forum. The artist hiding in plain sight, one headline read. My Instagram following tripled. Gallery inquiries flooded in. By the end of the month, I had representation in 4 new cities and a waiting list of collectors interested in future work. I hired a studio assistant to help manage the increased workload. Signed a contract for a solo show in New York for the following year. Got invited to speak at my alma mater's graduation about perseverance and believing in your work even when others don't. Through all of it, Damien remained silent. 3 months after the opening, Damien finally reached out. Not a call this time, but a text. Can we talk? In person. We met at a coffee shop halfway between his condo and my studio. Neutral territory. He looked tired when he walked in. His suit was perfectly tailored as always, but something about him seemed diminished. Or maybe I just finally stopped seeing him as larger than he actually was. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, sitting down across from me. "Of course." Awkward silence. He stirred his coffee without drinking it. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he finally said. "About everything that happened. About how I treated you. I waited. I was an asshole. Not just at the gallery, but for years before that. I dismissed your work because I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand it because I never bothered to learn. No, you didn't. I've always seen myself as the successful one in our family. The one who made it. The one who had the career and the money and the status." He looked up at me. "And somewhere along the way, I needed you to be less successful so I could feel more successful. Does that make sense?" "It does. That's fucked up." "Yeah, it is." He took a breath. "I'm sorry, Isla. Really sorry. Not just for the gallery thing, but for years of making you feel like your work didn't matter. Like you weren't enough." The apology settled between us. I could tell it cost him something to say it. To admit he'd been wrong in such a fundamental way. "I appreciate you saying that. Do you think we can fix this? Our relationship?" I consider the question honestly. "I don't know. That depends on whether you can actually see me differently. Not as your struggling younger sister who needs guidance, but as someone who has her own successful career, who doesn't need your approval or your coaching. I want to try, then start by asking about my work. Not in a patronizing way, but actually learning about what I do. Come to my studio. Look at my paintings. Ask me about process and concept and why I make the choices I make. I'd like that. And stop introducing me as your sister who's trying to make it as an artist. I've made it. This is my career." He nodded slowly. "You're right. I can do that." We finished our coffee and parted with a tentative hug. Nothing was completely repaired, but something had shifted. A willingness to try differently. 2 weeks later, Damien came to my studio. First time he'd been there since that day before the opening. He walked slowly through the space, actually looking at the work in progress covering the walls. Stopped in front of a massive canvas I was developing for the New York show. "Can you explain this to me?" he asked. "Like, actually explain what you're trying to do?" So I did. Talked about color theory and emotional resonance. About using gesture and layering to create visual metaphors for memory and loss. About how abstraction allows viewers to bring their own experiences to the work. He listened, asked questions, didn't try to give advice or suggest improvements. Just listened. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "I'm really sorry I never saw this before," he said finally. "You're incredibly talented. Thanks. No, I mean it. This is extraordinary work. And I was too caught up in my own shit to recognize it. It wasn't everything. But it was a start. 6 months after the Meridian opening, I got an invitation to participate in the Venice Biennale. One of the most prestigious art exhibitions in the world, the kind of career milestone that confirms you've arrived. I called Damien to tell him. "Holy shit," he said. "Isla, that's incredible. I'm still processing it. Can I come? To the opening?" I paused, surprised. "You want to fly to Venice for an art opening?" "I want to support my sister, who is a legitimate artist with a major career. If that's okay." "That's okay." When we hung up, I sat in my studio surrounded by work in progress and felt something loosen in my chest. Not complete forgiveness. Some wounds take longer to heal. But movement in that direction. My phone buzzed with a text from my dealer. Another museum acquisition offer came in. Milwaukee Art Museum wants the red piece from your studio visit, offering $85,000. I replied, accept it. Then I texted my studio assistant, need to scale up production. Start looking for a larger studio space. My career had entered a different phase. The phase where demand exceeded supply, where I had to be strategic about what opportunities to pursue, where museum curators called me instead of me calling them. The irony wasn't lost on me. 4 years, I'd been the family disappointment while Damien was the success story. Now collectors flew internationally to see my work while Damien was still a mid-level consultant at a firm that didn't fully value him. Not because I'd planned some revenge or tried to outdo him. Simply because I'd stayed true to work I believed in, even when everyone around me suggested I shouldn't. A year after the Meridian opening, I was installing work for a solo exhibition at a major New York gallery when my phone rang. Damien. Hey, can I ask you something? Sure. I'm thinking about leaving Blackstone. Maybe starting my own consulting firm. Something smaller, more focused on what I actually care about instead of just chasing the biggest clients. That sounds great. Yeah, but it's scary. Taking that kind of risk. Walking away from stability. I smiled, understanding exactly what he was really asking. You want to know if it's worth it? Following something you believe in even though it's risky. Basically, I can't answer that for you, Damien. But I can tell you that building something real takes longer and is harder than you think. And most people won't believe in it until after it's already successful. You have to believe in it first. Silence on the other end. Then, you've been doing that for years. I have. And I made it harder instead of easier. You did. I'm sorry. Again. I know. And I appreciate it. We talked for another 20 minutes. About his business ideas, about my upcoming shows, about our parents getting older and needing more support. Like siblings who actually knew each other. Who respected each other. It was different. Not perfect, but real. When we hung up, I went back to installing my paintings. Huge canvases that museums were acquiring. Work that collectors fought over. Art that had taken me from a warehouse studio to international recognition. All of it built on the stubborn belief that I was enough, exactly as I was. That I didn't need anyone's permission to be successful. Didn't need anyone's approval to do work that mattered. The best revenge wasn't Damien's public humiliation, or his wounded pride, or even the role reversal where I became the successful sibling. The best revenge was building a life where I didn't need revenge at all. Where I could show up exactly as I was, paint-stained hands, warehouse studio, abstract canvases that confused and delighted people in equal measure. And know that was more than enough. My worth had never depended on Damien recognizing it. It had been there all along, steady and real, waiting for me to claim it fully. And I had. If this story of hidden talent and epic vindication resonated with you, drop a comment about your favorite moment. Was it when the gallery owner embraced Isla? When Damien realized his sister was the star artist? When he finally apologized? And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, and remember, never let anyone make you small.